Hey there. Let's take a look at the game Alexandros, Conquest and Empire, 334 to 323 BC. It's from Command Issue number 10 by XTR Corporation, made back in 1991. Give you some dry statistics here just to get them out of the way before we take a closer look at the game. The designer was Mike Markowitz, the developer was Ty Bomba and Chris Borello, and the artwork was um, done by Mark Simonich, at least the map was. The era is antiquity, number of players 2, and there is no difficulty rating listed that I can tell. The scale is 1 inch equals 80 miles on the map, and there's 3 months per game turn. Real quick introduction here. Alexandros is a simulation of the campaigns of Alexander III the Great of Macedon from 334 to 323 BC. One player controls the Macedonians and a coalition of Greek city-states. The other player controls the Persians, independent Indian states, and barbarian tribes. Components. The rules come bound in the magazine. There's one medium-weight glossy map sheet divided into areas with charts and tables and the terrain key printed on it. The map represents the military's materially significant trade, there we go, in the Persian Empire and neighboring lands. There are 184 half-inch glossy die-cut cardboard counters, which represent combat units, leaders, walls, or fortifications, Macedonian objectives, and various game function markers. We have a sequence of play here, real quick. It's basically an I go, you go kind of thing. There's a mutual supply phase, and there's the Macedonian movement, reinforcement, replacement, and movement segment. And then we have the Persian movement phase, which is the same as a Macedonian player. And then we have combat resolution, which can involve minor combat, tactical combat, or siege combat. And then we have a random. Okay, each area on the map is considered a separate province. Each province has one or more types of terrain. Taking Lower India, for instance, this is rich terrain, and this is fertile terrain. Over here in the Sind, we have desert, or waste. I'm not sure if it's desert or wasteland. Desert wilderness. And then we have over here, we have an example of mountain terrain types. These terrain types affect supply and attrition, and in some cases affect movement. I don't think they have anything. Actually, I don't know that they affect movement or combat for that case. I could be wrong. Mostly they're for supply and attrition. So that just gives a real brief example of the type of terrain. Like I said, it affects supply attrition. You want to check. You want to be in a fertile or rich area at the end of your move to have the best chances of passing your supply check. And of course, the desert wilderness will be your last choice to be stuck in. And attrition is fairly significant. You can lose up to 6 units or so in desert wilderness terrain. So your choice of movement and forced marches will be affected by the type of terrain. For instance, this Indian unit, if it could leave India, which I don't think it can, could move one space with a leader. You have to have a leader of some sort. So it can move up into Upper India, which is off the camera there,
It can move over here into the Sind. It can move up into the mountainous areas, Arachosia or Gedrosia, with a leader, one space. Now I'm going to move the camera just a little bit. That's a rich province. So let's say we're in Upper India here, which you can barely see my units here. Say we're in Upper India, which is a rich fertile place, space, whatever. And we want to go to Gedrosia, but for some reason we can't go through Lower India, which is here. So we have to go through Arachosia, but we want to force march through Arachosia and Gedrosia. Leaders, and how did that work? Let me see her real quick. This is supposed to be just a brief example. Certain Macedonian and allied units stacked with Alexander may force march. Force march begins in one province, passes completely through an adjacent province, and ends in the third province. A force march may not ignore impassable borders. Force marching units may begin the turn stacked with friendly units that are ineligible to force march, as long as these are left behind in the starting province or the first province entered. Force marching force may pick up other units in the first province entered, even units which are not eligible to force march. Let's see. The units which complete the two province force march must make a separate attrition die roll on the supply attrition table. Roll using the province type of the first province entered. So let's say Alexander was stacked with these units and they were Macedonian, blah blah blah. They could go into Arachosia and into Gedrosia, but they would have to suffer attrition, and the effects, the terrain they would use would be mountains, because this is the first area or province they moved into before they made it into Gedrosia. So what province you leave and what province you enter will have a dramatic effect on your supply attrition die rolls. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. So anyway, I'll go ahead and give an example of combat here next. And the minor combat. I don't know if I'll do tactical. I might do tactical since the first turn involves only a tactical combat. But I'll show an example of what combat and what a siege combat is like. Okay, before I go on to an example of combat, I do want to do just a quick example of supply and attrition and depletion. So we'll assume that, excuse me, Alexander and the 4 units with him have just entered Syria and have stopped there. And they have to go through the supply check procedure. So any units stationed in an undepleted province are considered to be in supply. So at the moment, those units under Alexander are in supply. What you'll do then is you'll count the units in each province. For each province in which there are 3 or more units, you will roll 1 6-sided die. If the result is a 5 or 6, place a depleted marker in the province. You'll add 1 to the die roll if there are more than 8 units in the province. You'll add 1 to the die roll if the province is a mountain province. You'll add 1 to the die roll if it is a winter turn. And those die roll modifications are cumulative. So let's see, what do we have here? We only have 4 units with Alexander, so there's no die roll. It's not a mountain hex, so there'll be no modifier, sorry. And it's not a winter turn, so there'll be no modifiers to the die roll. It'll be just a straight up die roll, needing a 5 or 6. So what we will do is we will roll a dice if we get a 5 or 6. I roll a 3. Hopefully that will stay in focus. So the province is not depleted, and those units are considered to be supplied for this turn. Now let's say I had rolled a 5. The province would be considered, those units will be supplied for this turn, but the province would then acquire a depleted marker. Put it up there, see if it stays in focus. Yeah, there we go. So Alexander and his forces that are there currently will be in supply this turn. So we'll just go ahead and proceed on to the next turn. And we will move him out of the way, move him out of the way, move him out of the way. And Alexander. So the next turn, let's say Porus has the unfortunate luck of being stuck in Syria in a depleted province. Once depleted, a province can suffer no further effects. So if for some reason it was supposed to acquire another depleted marker, or not that, just once depleted, a province can suffer no further effects. Basically, it's just depleted. Now we have the effects and removal of depletion markers. In future game turns, that would be like the next game turn, any group of 3 or more units in a depleted province, and he doesn't have 3, so let's just throw in an Indian unit for fun. Not that Indian units can leave India, but that's neither here nor there. Well, I guess I can actually go into Gandhara. Anyway, I'll go up there. So anyway, let's say, for example, that those units have moved into Syria on the next turn. And let's see. In future game turns, any group of 3 or more units in a depleted province subject to attrition. Remove all depletion markers at the start of each summer turn. Well, let's assume that this is not summer, and that the depletion marker is a carryover, like I said, from last turn. Okay, if more than 3 units are located in the deleted province, the group, if 3 or more units, sorry, the group must roll for attrition. So we're going to go ahead and assume that they're going to have to roll for attrition. I'm going to try and get down here to the supply attrition table. Not too much. Trouble here. We'll zoom out a little bit. And yes, I know that I have a horrible glare that I'm not sure what to do with at the moment without covering up the attrition table. Well, you're just going to have to deal with the solar pie chart there, I guess. Okay. Try to make this less than painful. Anyway, what you'll do is count the number of units. You'll roll a die and cross-index the result with the appropriate type of province on the supply attrition table, reducing the force by the indicated number of steps. So what we will do is, we are in a rich province. Syria is considered rich, and there are, what, 3 to 4 units in it, and we're going to roll a die, and we're going to subtract 4 from that die roll. That's a little better. We're going to roll a die and subtract 4, and that will be the number of units that will be subject to attrition, i.e. lost. And it could basically be none, or if you roll extremely high, looks like it's going to, the best you're going to get is a 2 if you roll a 6. So let's see what happens. I roll a 6. So I can't see the die roll. Anyway, there's the die roll. It's a 6, trust me. So we take 6 minus 4, and that's 2. They will lose 2 units or steps in the Syrian province this turn, because it is depleted. That's a little better, I guess. Not much. Let's go back and zoom in here real quick. Okay, so you reduce the force by the indicated number of steps. A step may be lost either by reducing a two-step unit or by removing single-step units or all already reduced units. The owning player gets to decide which steps are to be lost, but no unit may be eliminated by supply attrition as long as there is a unit in the same army that can satisfy the loss by being reduced. So let me take a quick look here. That is not, that's a one-step unit, that's a two-step unit, and that's a two-step unit. So we'll take this unit as a loss, which I believe was the Indian unit, and then we'll flip over one of these other units for the second step loss. So all said and done, it was fairly costly for the Persian player to suffer attrition in that province. Had it been a mountain, we would have subtracted only 3 from the die roll, thus increasing the loss to 3. And if it had been a desert wilderness, it would have been a die roll minus 2, so 6 minus 2 would have been 4 steps lost. So anyway, that was kind of a cumbersome explanation of how supply and attrition works, but that's basically it. And like I said, the depletion marker comes off during the next summer turn, and each turn I think is a month long, basically, so, or a season long. I'm not sure. Might be a season long, I guess. So anyway, that's that, and we'll look at combat next. At least minor combat, or perhaps siege combat. Okay, for this example of combat, we're going to do minor combat. We're going to assume that Alexander is attacking Porus. I have it set up in Arabia, but this is just for example purposes. So we have, first of all, combat occurs whenever there are opposing forces in a province at the start of the combat phase. Combat is not voluntary, but forces may attempt to evade combat. So we're going to say that Alexandros is attacking, that Porus wants to evade combat, if he had the choice. The defender only may attempt to evade minor combat only if the defending unit or units is cavalry or light infantry, or if the defending unit is stacked with a leader whose ability rating is higher than the ability rating of any leader stacked with the attacking force. Unfortunately, in this case, neither of those two conditions apply to the Persian force. They have no cavalry, and they are not considered to be light infantry. And Porus's leadership rating is not greater than Alexander's. So evasion will not be an option at this time. So then we will move on to minor combat. The side with the larger force, based on the number of combat units, is considered the attacker, regardless of who wants or does not want battle. If both sides have the same number of units, the side with the highest total attack strength is the attacker. If both sides have the same attack strength, the Macedonian player is the attacker. So let's see. It looks to me like versus 2 4s, so 10 versus 8. The Macedonian player under the forces under Alexander will be the attacking player. So, sorry for my sinus issues here. Makes it hard to talk and breathe. Total the attack strengths of all attacking units and add the ability rating of the highest rated leader present with the attacking force. Total the defense strengths of all defending units and add the ability rating of the highest rated leader present with the defending force. And then you divide the attacker's strength by the defender's strength and round down. This will be the odds for the combat. And then we'll locate the appropriate odds column on the minor combat results table. Roll one die and cross-index the die roll with the odds column to get the combat result, which is applied immediately. Note that odds greater than 4 to 1 result in the immediate elimination of the defender, but no loss to the attacker, and so on and so forth. So we will look at the strengths that we have again. We have 10 plus, on the Macedonian player side, we have Alexander. His leadership rating is 9. And we'll add that to 6 plus 4 is 10, so we have 19. On the Persian player side, this number is the defensive combat rating. So he has a 3 and a 3, which is 6, plus 7 is what, 13? 13. But it does state to consider both sides have the same number of units, like the highest attack strength. Okay, so yeah, basically we have what I say, 19 to 13. 19 to 13. If my math is off, well, just consider it poor intelligence on both the generals and on my part. So we have 19 to 11, which is going to be 1 to 1. Let's see. So it's going to be a 1 to 1 attack. Let's see here that we have the die roll column over here, and we'll come over here to 1 to 1. It's basically going to be this highlighted column right there. So move this up just a hair. I'm going to roll a die. I roll a 4. Let's see if I can stick that into frame without losing all focus. And cross index the 4 with the 1 to 1 odds. We get an exchange. Now let's see how an exchange works. Now remember, we're just taking a look at this game. I do not have the rules down. I do not know how the game plays. We're just, like I said, just taking a look at the game and some of the subsystems and some examples of play and stuff. So let's see what an exchange does. Each side loses 1 step. Owner's choice. Roll for the highest rated leader on each side on the leader casualty table. The surviving defenders may retreat out of the province into an adjacent friendly controlled or contested province. If no such province is available, the units may not retreat. Retreating is entirely discretionary for the defender. The attacker may not retreat. So we have to lose. What do we lose? Each side loses 1 step, and then we have to roll for leader casualty. All right, let's go back up to the units in question. It's very hot in Arabia. Not the best I can do at the moment. Be a little bit closer, probably. But that's about as close up as you're going to get the units without getting sunblind by the Arabian sun, i.e. my overhead light. So we have to take step losses. Each side suffers 1 step loss. Alexander can go down 3, or he can go down to 3. It looks like this guy goes down the same. And see, the Persian player, we'll just go ahead and reduce this unit. They'll both be the same. So in the battle in Arabia, it was pretty much a standoff. The defender has the option to retreat. The Persian player could probably go to Gaza or Syria, since I'm assuming, or even Babylon. Yeah, that'd probably be the best place to go, is Babylon. So he would probably retreat into Babylon, or at least Babylonia. I don't know if they can retreat into the city of Babylon, but at least they can retreat into there. I don't see any follow-up. I'm not so sure there is a advance after combat. I don't see anything like that, so that would be that. Now, it says both leaders have to roll on the leader casualty table. Leader casualty table. Let's see if there's a difference between minor combat and tactical combat when it comes to leader losses and such. Let's see. there are special rules for Alexander. Let's see, using the tactical combat system. But let's see. Let's go to the leader log, leader casualty table, which is over here. I'll be at an odd angle here. We'll zoom out a little bit. I know this is very painful to watch. It's kind of like having your teeth worked on. All right, so not so sure that this is just for the. Oh, this is it. Correct table. So looks like we have on the loss column. Looks like we have the loss column. Looks like there's a 50% chance of some sort of effect happening. So we'll roll for. Well, if I got to, let's see if I understand this correctly. If the defender gets the option to retreat, okay, I got you. They should roll the leader casualty table first, and then they can retreat. So we'll roll for Alexander first, and I get a 3. Never seem to leave myself enough room for the die roll result. Anyway, trust me, it's a 3. And that is a wounded in action. Let's see here. Gotta find the actual rules on what happens to leaders in the tactical system. Well, here's leader casualty recovery. Well, anyway, he's wounded in action. They can recover from their injuries during the recovery phase. I'm not sure what the effect of wounded in action has at this time. Let's see. If the result is wounded in action, flip the leader to his reduced wounded side. Subsequent wounds have no additional effect. So we would flip Alexander over. He goes from a 9 to an 8. And I think he can recover from wounds in the in another segment. Now let's check on Porus here, the Persian leader. Go ahead and roll a die for him, and we roll a 5. 5 is no effect. So he was not wounded. His forces would have been able to retreat into Babylonia without any problem. And that's how you do minor combat. I do not want to go into tactical combat at this time because it is just, well, it's just a pain. It's like, perhaps another time I may go into it. I'm going to do siege combat next, and we will probably wrap things up after that. This game's been on my table now for 2 weeks, and it has about as much dust on it as the area in which the campaign is taking place probably had. So anyway, I'll come back to siege combat in a moment.
Okay, the last area I'm going to go over is siege combat. Basically, siege combat is a special type of combat involving walled cities or fortresses. It's conducted after regular combat, so an army that has already fought a battle may still conduct a siege. And let's see, if there's an army or whatever, then you've already fought it in a field battle. So then you just have like the city garrison left, which can be in the siege behind the, or in the city behind the walls. They can't take part in any normal in any normal combat in the province. Let's see, a city garrison may consist of 1 infantry unit for each 2 wall markers on the city. So what? 1 infantry unit for each 2 wall markers on the city, rounding fractions down. So whatever. So it's basically a pretty simple procedure to resolve siege combat. You just add up the number of attacking infantry and light infantry units. You don't count archers or cavalry. You add 2 if the siege train is present. Add 1 for each leader. And let's see, as long as there is at least 1 infantry or light infantry unit for each leader, excuse me, subtract 1 from that total for each wall marker, and 1 for each garrison unit. Subtract 1 for each leader present on the defender side. Okay, then you basically just compare those two. The result is the siege differential. You'll roll a die and cross-index the die roll with the appropriate differential column on the siege table. And the result is the number of losses suffered by each side. The attacker's losses to the left of the slash, the defender's losses to the right. Add 1 to the defender's loss result if the siege train is present. The presence of the siege train automatically inflicts 1 loss. So, anyway, that's how that works. So in this example, we have 3 Macedonian units and 1 leader, Alex, Mr. Alexander himself. So that is basically 1, 2, 3, and 4. There is no siege train. And then we have for the defender, or whatever, subtract 1 from the total for each wall marker, and 1 for each garrison, and a leader. There is no leader, there is a garrison, and a wall marker. So it's going to basically be 4 minus 2. So we're going to go over here to the siege table, which is way down here on the map. So we're going to try and move over to the siege table. So we're going to be on the, let's see, 4 minus 2, that'd be a differential. So it's going to be on the plus 2 column, I'm assuming here. Go over here, and it's basically on the highlighted columns there, looks like. So we're going to roll a die, 6-sided die. The die roll is a 6. Put that there and hopefully not mess up the focus. And it looks to me like there'll be no losses to the attacker and 1 loss to the besieging force. So we'll come back over here. Oops. Try to get back to our siege example. And let's see, satisfying the siege combat results. Attacker may satisfy a loss by eliminating 1 attacking infantry or light infantry step. For each such loss, the attacker must designate a leader and roll on the leader casualty table. But in this case, let's see, there is no step loss for the attacker. So the leaders are, there's no leader check, leader loss check. And the defender may satisfy a loss by eliminating, sorry, my sinuses are still messed up. I have seasonal allergies, they just happen to last all year long. He can lose a wall marker or 1 step of the garrison. If any loss is satisfied by losing a garrison step and any leader took part, then he has to make a leader loss check. There can also be a defender sortie type of thing and all that, but I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. So let's see. Alexander could flip 1 of his ally. No, he doesn't have to take a loss. Sorry, my bad. We could take away that, or we could take away that. If we do that, that eliminates it. I guess you might as well just take the wall away. Still leave a garrison there. Let's see, I guess that's pretty much it. When the last wall marker on the city is eliminated, the city and any remaining defending units and leaders are captured. So that's where you would turn let's see. The new owner is immediately awarded 1 wall marker. Any desired, they lift a siege. And then there's a siege train. You can lose a siege train on a 1 or 2. Excuse me. Other than that, that's pretty much just how a siege works. So you keep doing that till all the walls are eliminated. Then you capture it. You get the new owner is immediately awarded 1 wall marker in his color. And that's it. You can eliminate any remaining defending units, and it's yours. So we'll just assume that, bam, they now occupy the city of Persepolis, or Persepolis, whatever. And that's pretty much that. So this is, like I said, just taking kind of a semi-brief look at the game Alexandros. There's some more. There's more to it than this, but I really don't want to mess with the tactical combat. It's I just don't want to mess with it right now. That's pretty much going to be our look at the game. There are random events, and the random events is basically how the barbarians and the Arabs appear. And we also have the Spartan revolt too. During the summer random events phase of each summer and autumn turn, beginning in 332, the Persian player rolls a die. On a roll of 1 or 2, the Spartan revolt occurs. And you just add some more units to the board for the Macedonian player to fight. And that's pretty much that. The barbarians and Arabs on spring and summer turns, marked with a B. There's a chance of a barbarian incursion. Roll a die on the table to determine the location of the raid. Let's see here if I can show this table real quick without too much. Let's go back up here a little bit to deal with the glare, I guess. Determine the location of the raid, which can be there'll be no raid or Scythia, Chorasmia, the Sind, or Arabia. Could be where the Arabs or barbarians show up. Sorry. And then you determine the size of the raid by rolling another die. I don't know if you can see that very well, but anyway. Let's see what else. And then the Persian player puts those units in the indicated province. Persian player is not required to move the barbarian units on the turn of placement. He can hold them in readiness indefinitely, and so on and so forth. So then we have the Macedonian objectives, which are kind of interesting. Alexander's prestige and charisma. Dependent upon the achievement of certain highly visible goals in public relations events. In the sense, the campaign was a giant scavenger hunt for spiritual and physical treasures. These are represented by the Macedonian objective markers, which count for victory points at the end of the game. Place objective markers on their appropriate boxes at the start of the game. As Alexander achieves each objective, remove it from the board. And we have basically what? The Persian royal family. After the Battle of Issus, Alexander captured the family of Darius, including his mother, Sisygambus, I have no idea, his wife, and his children. His courteous treatment of these noble prisoners was a major propaganda victory. And then we have, up here, if I can show it enough, whatever, the Gordian knot. I don't know if you can see that or not. No pun intended. And we have the different places on the map that are named after him, the different Alexandrias. And then we have the Temple Oracle of Ammon, or Ammon. And we have Bessus. Kills or captures Bessus, treat the Bessus counter as an objective achieved. And let's see, we have the Persian Treasury. If I can get this over here to the camera. There's 4 treasury markers. They can't be moved. You capture them. You capture the cities. You capture the treasuries. And there's Roxanne. He needed a wife. Alexander did, because he needed an heir. The most beautiful woman in Asia is a prize for capturing the Sogdian Rock. And those are just basically the Macedonian objectives that add to the victory point totals. Some optional rules are Scorched Earth, the Macedonian Fury if Alexander is killed, the death of Alexander. Well, let's see. Wait a minute. Macedonian, yeah, is injured. Let's start that over again. Macedonian Fury is if Alexander is injured while leading attack on a siege or other attacks against, if he's wounded while leading a siege attack. All subsequent attacks against that city inflict double losses on the defender. And we have the death of Alexander, we have the mutiny, we have treachery, city surrenders just because Alexander moves into the province, and so on and so forth. And then designer notes. So with that, our little look at Alexandros is going to come to an end, I think. And we'll take a look at another game here in a short while, hopefully. I think something on Shiloh will probably be what I'll be looking at, because by the time I get it up and running, it will be close enough to that anniversary in April. So anyway, I may put out a couple of small videos between now and then. We'll see. Anyway, I bid you all farewell and take care, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.